Hello kids, it's time for art class. My name is Miss Roz, and in today's video we will be making some Native American art. A model of a tribe's blanket. All you will need today is a sheet of construction paper in kind of a light color, some crayons, and a pair of scissors. This lesson will be a social studies and ELA arts integration lesson. We will learn about Thanksgiving as a national holiday and how it began. We will look at the past with Native Americans, how they lived, their customs, their culture, and also about their art. Lastly, you will be using your reading and your writing skills to tell your own story using symbols. On the last Thursday of November, we celebrate Thanksgiving. We have celebrated this holiday for over 150 years. In 1863, President Abe Lincoln made Thanksgiving a national holiday. What are some of the traditions that you do in your family on Thanksgiving? You may eat turkey and a lot of other foods and get together with your family. Long ago, the first Thanksgiving meal was with the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. Do you know what a pilgrim is? A long time ago, the Pilgrims came to live in America. This is the way they dressed a long time ago. Their lives were very hard. They had trouble growing food. A group of Native Americans helped the Pilgrims and showed them how to grow new crops of vegetables. The Pilgrims wanted to thank the Native Americans for their help, so they invited them to a special meal. This day became known as Thanksgiving Day. In what ways do you know this picture was taken in the past? Maybe from the clothing they are wearing. We have learned so many things from the Native Americans. They are amazing artists, and we have learned many skills from them. They weave beautiful blankets with many colors and patterns. What lines and shapes can you spot in these blankets? I think I see zigzags. They are talented potters, and they have created many bowls and cups out of clay from the earth to use for eating and drinking. They also weave baskets out of straw that can be used to do jobs around their teepee. In the past, some tribes lived in teepees or wigwams. They created from animal skins they hunted. They would decorate them with lines and pictures. This is the way a Native American might have dressed in the past for a celebration called a powwow, with decorated animal skin clothing and feathers on their hair. Now many Native Americans live on reservations. There are many reservations where a group of Native American families live in our state of Louisiana. Later, when we are drawing, we will hear some of their drumming because they made music as well and sang in their language. One of my favorite authors is Tommy DePaula, and he wrote this book called The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush. A legend is a story that is passed down from generation to generation. The Indian paintbrush is a wildflower that grows in many different places. In this book, you will hear the story about Little Gopher and his tribe or his group of people. And in the past, Native Americans would give themselves names about nature and animals. A gopher is an animal that lives underground, hidden. And Little Gopher wants to become a warrior like all the other boys. but you'll see what his gift becomes. There will be pictures of how Native Americans lived, and you'll see how they appreciated the things outside in nature, like the clouds and the flowers, the animals, and how they were able to be artists and make art supplies out of things that they had from nature. Have you ever thought about what could be used to make your own paint or your very own paintbrush? While I am reading this book, you will find out the answers to some of those questions. You will notice how the pictures they drew became stories, and it was a way to communicate. They drew small pictures called symbols that meant words. Today, we will be using symbols to create our own story. The Legend of the Indian Paintbrush, retold and illustrated by Tommy DePaola. Many years ago, when the people traveled the plains and lived in a circle of teepees, there was a boy who was smaller than the rest of the children in the tribe. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't keep up with the other boys, who were always riding, running, shooting their bows, and wrestling to prove their strength. Sometimes his mother and father worried for him. But the boy, who was called Little Gopher, was not without a gift of his own. From an early age, he made toy warriors from scraps of leather and pieces of wood, and he loved to decorate smooth stones with the red juices from berries he found in the hills. The wise shaman of the tribe understood that Little Gopher had a gift that was special. "Do not struggle, Little Gopher. Your path will not be the same as the others. They will grow up to be warriors. Your place among the people will be remembered for a different reason." And in a few years, when Little Gopher was older, he went out to the hills alone to think about becoming a man, for this was the custom of the tribe. And it was there that a vision came to him. The sky filled with clouds, and out of them came a young Indian maiden and an old grandfather. She carried a rolled-up animal skin, and he carried a brush made of fine animal hairs and pots of paints. The grandfather spoke, "My son, these are the tools by which you shall become great among your people. You will paint pictures of the deeds of the warriors and the visions of the shaman, and the people shall see them and remember them forever." The maiden unrolled a pure white buckskin and placed it on the ground. "Find a buckskin as white as this," she told them. "Keep it, and one day you will paint a picture that is as pure as the colors in the evening sky." And as she finished speaking, the clouds cleared, and a sunset of great beauty filled the sky. Little Gopher looked at the white buckskin, and on it he saw colors as bright and beautiful as those made by the setting sun. Then the sun slowly sank behind the hills. The sky grew dark, and the dream vision was over. Little Gopher returned to the circle of the people. The next day, he began to make soft brushes from the hairs of different animals, and stiff brushes from the hair of the horse's tail. He gathered berries and flowers and rocks of different colors, and he crushed them to make his paints. He collected the skins of animals, which the warriors brought home from their hunts. He stretched the skins on wooden frames, and he pulled them until they were tight. And he began to paint pictures of great deeds. And of great dream visions, so that the people would always remember. But even as he painted, little Gopher sometimes longed to put aside his brushes and ride out with the warriors. But always he remembered his dream vision, and he did not go with them. Many months ago, he had found his pure white buckskin, but it remained empty because he could not find the colors of the sunset. He used the brightest flowers, the reddest berries, and the deepest purples from the rocks, and still his paintings never satisfied him. They looked dull and dark. He began to go to the top of the hill each evening and look at the colors that filled the sky, to try and understand how to make them. He longed to share the beauty of his dream vision with the people. But he never gave up trying, and every morning when he awoke, he took out his brushes and his pots of paints, and he created the stories of the people with the tools that he had. One night, as he lay awake, he heard a voice calling to him. "Because you have been faithful to the people and true to your gift, you shall find the colors you are seeking. Tomorrow, take the white buckskin and go to the place where you watch the sun in the evening. There on the ground you will find what you need." The next evening, as the sun began to go down, little Gopher put aside his brushes and he went to the top of the hill, as the colors of the sunset spread across the sky. And there, on the ground, all around him, were brushes filled with paint, and each one a color of the sunset. Little Gopher began to paint quickly and surely, using one brush and then another. And as the colors in the sky began to fade, little Gopher gazed at the white buckskin, and he was happy. He had found the colors of the sunset. He carried his painting down to the circle of the people, leaving the brushes on the hillside. And the next day, when the people awoke, the hill was ablaze with color, for the brushes had taken root in the earth and multiplied into plants of brilliant reds, oranges, and yellows. And every spring, from that time, the hills and the meadows burst into bloom. And every spring, the people danced and sang the praises of little Gopher, who had painted for the people. And the people no longer called him little Gopher, but he who brought the sunset to the earth. The end. Boys and girls, it's time to create. So let's get our supplies ready. Choose a color paper that is light enough in color that you can draw on. Colors like tan, yellow, light green, or even white. You need your construction paper lengthwise, your scissors, and your crayons. First, let's look at some Native American symbols. There are many different symbols, and some are easy to tell what they mean, and others you can try to guess to see what you think they mean. You can even make up your own symbols in today's project. You will notice many are made with the lines in art that we have been learning about: straight, curved, zigzag, and wavy. And some of the symbols are even shapes that you have been studying, like triangles, circles, ovals. Listen while I go over some of these with you. The Indians, like little Gopher, lived in a teepee. This is another symbol for teepee. There's many ways you can draw it. They like to draw animals. Can you tell what this one is? A horse. This is a turtle. They're just easy drawings. Can you see some of the shapes? Like rectangle and oval. This is a buffalo. This is an animal that the Native Americans hunted a lot. They also looked for bear tracks, flowers, pine cones, corn plants, cactus. These were all plants that grew around where their tribe lived. Also, they hunted. You might want to draw one arrow for hunting, but if you drew two arrows, sometimes that meant a battle, or sometimes it even meant friendship. They were very in tune to weather, like sunshine, could be sunrise or sunset, the clouds on a pretty day. Here's a different way to make a sun, the lightning, and even rain. So we're going to draw using some of these symbols and write a little story about Little Gopher. You're going to be drawing along with me, and then once I finish, I'm going to show you the symbols again, and you're going to make up your own story using the symbols. Are you ready? You have your paper? Great. I chose tan because it's a light color and I can draw and use my crayons on it. The first thing we need to do is put our paper like a landscape this way. Your teacher may call it like a hot dog. And we're going to fold it in half. You take this side and you match corner to corner. And then you kind of press in the middle. So now we're going to know exactly what the middle of our paper is. This is going to be a model, which is a representation of a blanket that the Native Americans might have woven. And it's going to tell a story. So I want you to open up your paper. Do you see it's kind of like a book? Is yours kind of like a book? Yes. And then the librarian, does she sometimes call this the spine of the book? Yes, it's also the middle. So keep your paper closed like a book, and I want you to write your name at the top with your pencil. Do that now. Keep your paper closed, and you can write your name at the top. Got it? Great. You may pick any color. Pick a color that's dark that you can see. Now, is your paper like this with your spine on the left? The spine needs to be on the left. And I'm going to go where the book would open. And watch, Miss Roz. I'm going to draw a straight line. Do you remember that line? I'm starting at the top and I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. Now, I don't want to be at the very edge. This is going to be for the fringe. The fringe is kind of like the strings at the end of a blanket. You may have had the strings at the end of a sweater. It's called fringe. We're going to make some fringe in just a minute. So watch Miss Roz. Here's the edge. I'm going to go in just a little bit like this. And I'm going to draw a straight line all the way from the top to the bottom. Do you see I have a little space? Draw your straight line now. Great. So it's at the edge, right? Let's keep it folded. I want you to watch Miss Roz. I'm turning my paper. So like this, we're going to use our scissors. Remember when we use our scissors, we put our thumb in the little hole and our fingers go in the big hole. And you're going to hold your paper with this hand and watch me. I'm going to start at the very edge, but when I get to the line, I stop. This is the fringe. Watch Miss Roz. I'll move my scissors down. And I'm cutting both papers at the same time. Have you ever cut two papers at the same time? Now that you're in first grade, your fingers are getting pretty strong. Well, you can cut two papers at one time. Do you see? The closer you get, the more fringe you will have. Every time you get to your line, you stop. At the end, we're going to play with it, and it's going to make your fringe get curly, like the edge of a blanket. So continue cutting all the way across. Try to cut as straight as you can to make some straight line fringe. Don't stop until you get to the line so your fringe will be long enough. Sometimes my fringe cut like this. Is that fringe long enough? No, look how short it is. It doesn't even go all the way up to the line. Make sure you go all the way up to the line so your fringe will be long enough. We're almost at the end. This is going to be a blanket. Do you have a blanket at your house? Blankets can keep you warm. You can use them at a picnic. All right, I'm finished. So now I'm going to play with it. It kind of makes it curly, like this. You see? So those are going to be the edges of our blanket. And open your blanket up. Everybody have your blanket opened up? You see my fringe on the left? My fringe is on the right. And right down the middle, there's a line. I want you to think about your favorite line that you've been learning about in art. Do you remember these lines? Which one do you like the most? You can choose any of them. We're going to draw that line right down the middle of our blanket, right on that line. I like wavy line. Choose a color, any color. And I want you to start at the top and make the line that you like the most right down the middle. From the top to the bottom. Press hard so your colors show up nice and bright. We're going to try to make our project really colorful and use a lot of different colors. Great. I chose wavy. Did anyone else choose wavy? Anybody choose zigzag? How about dotted or dashed? All right. What's your second favorite line? Let's choose a different line. I chose wavy last time, so this time I might do zigzag. And I'll pick a different color. On the right side near the fringe, I'm going to make my second favorite line. So I have a zigzag. Zigzags go up and down and up and down, and this one goes right and left and right and left. And I want you to make it match on the other side. Same thing, left, right. Whatever line you picked on the right, draw it all the way down the left. See that? They match. In art, when things look kind of like a mirror, each side is called it's symmetrical. If you want to add more colors, I'm going to make another zigzag. It's kind of like its twin in a different color on the other side. Can you do the same thing? Whatever line you picked, and add another one to make some more lines and make it more creative. Great. So now we have space 1 and space 2. Do you see the 2 spaces? Do you have 2 spaces as well? Great. We have some lines. Now I'm going to turn my paper so it's up and down. Can you do the same thing? In the top, we're going to draw the story of Little Gopher, and we're going to use symbols. Watch me draw the symbols and then you can join in. You can draw them using any color you'd like. You can change your color whenever you'd like. Let me tell you the story about Little Gopher. Little Gopher lived in a teepee. Do you know what shape a teepee is most like? Triangle. So let's draw a triangle. I'm starting on the left just like a regular sentence would. Up the mountain, down the mountain, and across. So draw Little Gopher's teepee. Teepees have sticks that hold them up. They're usually animal skin, so put some little straight lines coming out of the top. And make a little door so Little Gopher can get in his teepee. The Native Americans would decorate their teepees with stripes or lines or pictures, so add some decoration in a different color to your teepee. Great. So this is my story. Little Gopher, one morning, he woke up in his teepee. I'm thinking of what is a good symbol for morning. I'm thinking of the sun. Are you thinking the same thing? Here's Miss Roz's sun. Suns are easy to draw. Which shape are the suns? Circle. I chose a warm color like orange to draw my sun. You could choose yellow or even red. So Little Gopher, one morning, he woke up in his teepee and he decided to go hunting because he was hungry. So the Native Americans would hunt with their bows and arrows. So I'm thinking of a symbol called an arrow. It's just a straight line. Can you draw the straight line for your arrow? And then we're going to put some little slanted lines. This is the point that helped him hunt. And then add some feathers down the side. This helps the arrow fly through the sky when he's hunting the animals. And then little Gopher saw a bear track. So this is the bear track. The Native Americans were very in tune to animals, and they knew what all the different tracks of the animals were. So here is the bear's left foot. How many toes do you think he has? And here's the bear's right foot. Just a little circle. So we saw the bear track. Then the weather kind of started to get bad. So I'm going to draw a cloud. If you have a white, you can use a white. Or if you have a gray or a blue. A cloud is just curve, curve, curve. And you kind of color it in because our clouds aren't invisible. And then it might rain. Then little Gopher heard lightning, which is a zigzag, and he ran all the way home. Do you see how my symbols tell a story? Now I'm going to show you the symbols, and you're going to make your own story. The symbol picture will be up so you can look at them. You can even make up your own. And I'm going to play some Indian drumming for you. Now these are the symbols, and I want you to draw your own story in the space 2 of your blanket. I'm going to put on the Cherokee Indians are drumming to this music while you're working. If you can't think of a symbol for something you want to say, you can make up your own symbol. I'm going to read my story to you while you're finishing up yours. Here's my cactus. One day I was in the desert riding my horse. The horse tracks, where I was following the horse tracks, and it was so hot that I spotted a lizard. The sun was about to set, and we finally spotted some water and a river to get a drink. Period. That's the end of my sentence. Can you share your sentence with the teacher or with a friend? If you want to write your story in words after you write it in symbols, listen while Miss Roz reads you the first story that we wrote about Little Gopher. Little Gopher woke up in his teepee one sunny morning. He was hungry, so he decided to go hunting. He spotted a bear track, but then it started to rain and lightning, so he ran all the way back to his teepee. I hope you enjoyed the story about Little Gopher and his journey to discover that he was an artist. I loved his name at the end, He Who Paints the Sunset. Can you think of a good Native American nickname for yourself? I bet there are some of you out there called Pretty Rainbow, Running River, Strong Bull, or maybe you're fast as lightning. Read your story to a friend or a teacher. I bet they will enjoy it and they will love seeing your artwork. Join us again next week with another visual or creative movement lesson. Goodbye.